Hello, I'm Michael, and this is Tarot by the Tree. What we're doing now is we're going through the 22 cards of the major arcana. You'll note that the system works with 10 cards on one tree, suspended by the 11th card, Justice, and 10 cards on the other tree. The first card is the Tree of Life. That's the way things are ideally. The other tree is the Tree of Knowledge, and that's where we show some of the shadows that exist in anything, some of the other side, as it were. Yesterday, we talked about the Emperor and his other side. And Jocelyn did ask a question about the horns, and I knew there was something, and I just couldn't think of it. So we'll go through that very briefly now as a recap. Uh, Also noticing that everybody has an inner devil. We mentioned that this is not the biblical devil of uh, like Satan and an anti-God force of great power. This is a devilish person. This is the side of all of us that it's not fair to say we enjoy adoration. It's more effective to say that we have receptors for adoration, that when we receive a lot of it, these form an addiction. And probably end the Emperor card with the idea that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. And we're just recapping last time. This is the Emperor, this is the benevolent king. This is somebody we all want to follow, we admire. This is a great person. But you'll notice on his throne, in four places, are goat skulls with the horns curving. This suggests that the Emperor is not a bad person. He is not Satan. It is the throne that infects him with something that lies dormant in all of us. We see that the Emperor has a tendency to become the devil, where people willingly chain themselves to his beliefs, his aura, and he becomes to rely on their adoration. And the throne is an indicator with the skulls and horns on it that the Emperor will become, over time, necessarily the devil card. All right, we'll move to today's card, which is the Tower. Number 15, card number 15, and it lies in the 5th place on the Tree of Knowledge. I think a good term for this card is I used to believe. And I think that's a healthy sign of growth and not being tied to your ego too much. If you can, at any time in your life, say, without being ashamed, I used to believe, and that's what the Tower is about. The tarot cards may have become not liked by society as it grew because of the two cards we're discussing right now. How the Emperor becomes the devil card tells us that people with long-term authority can become almost cult-like in status. And that's what the devil card indicates. And the implication is that kings will always become devilish in this way. It's a lifetime contract. It's something that they don't have to work toward. And we also mentioned how many societies put a limit on how long anybody can assume a high post of government, just because of this tendency in all of us to become corrupted by attention and adoration. On the first Tree of Life, we saw that the Tower was the Hierophant. And the Hierophant is necessary if we are to capture the wisdom of our ancestors. The Hierophant will take care of the temple sacred text, laws, lineages, all that kind of thing, so that every generation does not have to start again. The Hierophant is knowledge through an institution. It is necessary, but it's not the end. It's a means. And from the study of an institution, you will eventually have to take a sort of leap of faith and move on from there. On the second tree, the Hierophant has shown its other side, and that is the Tower. I'll describe the card now of the Tower. The Hierophant's place of study, place of worship, his temple, his church, whatever, has been destroyed. There's a lightning bolt from above has come, and it's knocked off a crown. That crown is the pretense of divinity, the pretense of supernatural knowledge, the pretense of having all the answers. Falling from the card are yods, and that's a good thing. And it suggests a feeling of relief and freedom after going through the Tower card. I'll talk a bit more. The Tower is destroyed by lightning. The contents of the Tower themselves are all on fire. The Tower is on an inaccessible mountaintop, suggesting out of reach for most people. The Tower may have become top heavy with pretenses of wisdom that it really didn't have a right to. The meaning of the card is, as an institution grows, it can sometimes reach a point where it's too large and a critical mass sets in. And this critical mass allows things to sort of fester and change within it. Non-truth gets in and it becomes protected. Nobody thinks that this is a lie and we're going to conceal lies here. This is sort of an invisible trend that happens when institutions get large. As the institution gets large and more rigid in its configuration, it puts up boundaries. And with these boundaries, new truths can be rejected. And it reminds us of the Hangman card, where the magician, in spite of his truth and wisdom, is rejected because of the whims of a group of people, a mob of people who just don't understand and are going to make no effort to understand. Any institution, corporation, or especially religion defines what it is and what it isn't. That's one of the things. You want to not just be everything, you want to be specific. So you define what you are and what you aren't. In the beginning, these things just establish where you are and what you are. In time, these things can become permanent boundaries and obstacles. Another thing that happens with institution is you begin to compete with other understandings. And as we break up knowledge and belief, this competition can get in the way and actually seek to exclude other brands of knowledge. You get this isolationism that can happen with different towers. In a reading, if you receive this card in a reading, some of the suggestion is going to be examine your key and core beliefs. Some of the things you take for granted that may be paradigms in your life, it could be over time and as you gain experience and wisdom, some of these things are not the sacred truths that you once believed. This card means there's a term post-cognitive dissonance, that you are going to feel sad because some of your cherished beliefs, some of the things that you clung to like an anchor, are shifting. They aren't nearly as solid as you once thought. This is also a card that suggests you don't spend your life joining, following, and being told what to believe. All of these things have ceilings, and you don't want to confine your entire intellectual development, your whole belief system, confined by a single tower. This is a story. If we follow the Hierophant, we will see that the Hierophant speaks about learning, studying, getting used to dealing without. Deprivation is a large part of this. All of these are on the side of severity and the need to be strong. These are also related to strength. The Hierophant is a necessary card of learning and, in a way, tempering ourselves to be more resilient. The fact that the place where the Hierophant is, the tower, eventually, in a sense, gets destroyed by its own weight, is not to cast any shade on the Hierophant. This is a strange bit of wisdom that you have to go through something in order to learn it. You cannot bypass it. That's why we had the Tree of Life and the Tree of Knowledge. One is taught to youth, one to older people. In your youth, you can be taught, go learn. There are many institutions, places of belief where you can learn. Do that. There's no substitute. You can't bypass that. And that's the reason why we teach the tower on the second tree. You don't want to encourage people to go to learn and then tell them the places of learning aren't going to provide the ultimate truth. That could leave them jaded. That's why there are the two trees. So the Hierophant is necessary and great. The tower is truth. Okay, finally, I would say that there's always room for our intellect and our thought. The idea that we have to suspend our thoughts in favor of what we are told to believe, that's an aspect of many institutions, ranging from anything from religions to sports teams to even some high-powered success stories for salesmen. There's that aspect to it. We don't suspend our intellect. We keep our eyes open and we judge things with our thinking as well as our feeling. The tower is something which is not the end. It describes part of the means of learning. And we don't see this as a bad card. We see this as a card of personal evolution, even though it means we have to let go of some things that we once thought were truths. Okay, why don't we take a look at some of the questions now?
How does the tower help explain the Five of Cups?
The tower card is the end of belief. It's that feeling of, I used to believe in something. And this is a card of a person who has happiness, but part of it is gone and he looks like he's in mourning. He's far from home. This is the feelings that come when a day ago he might have felt himself filled with happiness, but something's happened. Today he sees some of that happiness and he sees it as petty. And it no longer fills him with joy. It makes him think there's a higher purpose and there is a more complete feeling of happiness that I could pursue.
How does the tower help explain the Five of Swords?
One of the things with the tower is that the study of the Hierophant, the learning, has come to an end. what you thought was is not. This is a card of loss. There's been a contest, and the person smiling a little smugly is picking up the swords. He's won. The person in the distance is you, walking off in defeat. You have been defeated. But in this card, it's accepted. Of course, there are feelings of sadness or remorse, but they do not affect the actions. There's a sense of, yes, this didn't work out, but you can proceed from here with dignity.
How does the tower help explain the Five of Coins?
Five of Coins is perfect for this card. All the time studying with the Hierophant, and you finally found out that the tower is not the end of the road. It's a place that you will have to leave to move on. And this is Dark Night of the Soul. These are two people who feel that they can still see the truth, but they can't be admitted into it anymore. They are lost, destitute, and they feel injured. That's the feeling of loss that can happen when something that was so much a part of you comes to an end. And many people will spend a lot of time in a belief system only to one day find out that it wasn't what they thought.
How does the tower help explain the Five of Staffs?
Five of Staffs is one of conflict and communication with friends and acquaintances. It's a stimulated card of argument. And you can see that while you're not in any danger of being hurt, you have the high ground, it is still a messy business. As you leave something, as you leave the teachings of the Hierophant, having absorbed them and moving out of the ruined tower, you will find many people who want to disagree with you, who want to claim that you're wrong, who want to claim that you're not patient enough, and may accuse you of many other failings. This is a card that suggests that kind of controversy that comes when you leave an established belief system.
Is this a card of God destroying churches?
No, it's not a question of God destroying churches. Yeah, that kind of a strange notion. This is a card that no church can have all the answers. And that might be enough said right there.
Why is the tower on a mountaintop?
There are a couple of reasons. One is the higher truths are thought to be inaccessible, and you often need a priest or a wise person or a shaman in order to put you in the right direction. And it also may be that the tower is built not on things of our world. It may be built on ideas and theories. It's an out of reach place that eventually you'll just be lost in. It won't lead anywhere from there.
Does this card mean we should avoid churches?
No, I think it doesn't mean you should avoid anything. It's just a card saying don't bet everything you have on any one belief system. So churches can be as much a part of your life as you want, as long as they're not all of your life. That's what I think this card suggests. You want to take any institution, and that includes places of worship, and treat them to some extent like a theory, or at very least like a rung on a ladder that could lead somewhere else. There's nothing negative about churches here. It's just the idea that the church should be a part of your life. You shouldn't just be a part of the church's life.
Is it our job to try and get churches to be more open-minded and inclusive?
I would not think that's our job at all. I think it's the job of churches to formulate their belief system and communicate it to people, and hopefully have a practical aspect that encourages people to behave better and to come together. And I think that's really the only proper aim of many of these institutions is to create connection between people.
If kings become devils and large institutions are destined to fail, who do we trust and follow?
We trust and follow wise people all the time. In the end, it sounds cliche, we have to trust ourselves. What I mean by that is there is a danger in what I call groupism, which is defining yourself by a group. To me, that's like a mob, a lynch mob, something like that, where your feelings become so infected with the beliefs of others. And as different people collaborate in these beliefs, it just draws you even more. I think it can be dangerous.
How do I join an institution or become part of an organization without deluding or limiting myself?
Well, it depends. Some institutions encourage you to uh, read outside and their writings and to discuss things. Other institutions may require you to accept um, their dogma as your belief. I think all of these places are necessary. I think they're good. I think they preserve the wisdom of the past, and they are there to enrich our lives, but they're not there to be a substitute for our free will.
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I'm just going to come back to the idea of individuality. We have to be self-sufficient. Self-sufficient. We have to be individuals. We have to think all of these institutions, like the tower, can bring us together, and that's a really good thing. The problem is, for a lot of people, that herding instinct, that need to be belong, can be so strong that we can sometimes willingly sacrifice our independent thought, our reason, and we may even start to think that our ability to criticize is wrong, and it's not. That's a healthy part of our thought process, and I think we should enjoy different forms of learning. We just shouldn't be a slave to any of them. And that's it. Tomorrow, I think we enter the realm of Tiferet, beauty and love, and there's no second card to that one, so it'll be kind of interesting. See you tomorrow.